Okay. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the display and the delay. I was trying to set up a special treat today and put up a live cam so people can see what a sunny, beautiful day it is here at the Hermitage. So, for Friday, July the 10th, and as I referenced yesterday, it's our 10th anniversary here at the Hermitage today. And there's no big celebration, but something special is going on every day here. So, there are not many places like this in the world. And sadly say, not even many monks in the world of any type. uh, so how is everyone today? Hopefully other things are working here. Let me scroll up. There was a question, I think, at the very end of the chat yesterday about whether or not the chat itself is distracting to me when I'm trying to talk. And it's quite all right. Big part of my intention in doing this during this time period is, to offer that kind of connection to Sangha and to be able to include so many different parts of the concentric circles of what I call Sangha and community, like the local Gorge Sangha, White Salmon Sangha, the Sangha of the Portland Friends of the Dhamma, Birkin Sangha, and friends from further afield, new friends, old friends, and for people to be able to connect and share a little good cheer and sense that we're not alone in this endeavor of trying to make sense out of our lives, and in particular to make sense out of how to navigate in the best way in the face of good and evil and the various challenges of a human life, most particularly uh, the challenge of dukkha, dissonance, that which burdens the heart and the mind and robs one of a sense of freedom. So, and good friends are the whole of the holy life, as the Buddha once said to the Venerable Ānanda. So there's high praise for silence and solitude and simplicity. And it is a true statement to say that one must do this work for oneself, but that's counterbalanced by this dialogue the Buddha has with Ānanda, where he almost exaggerates. Like, it seems on the face of it like he's almost exaggerating. Ānanda says, good friends, the Kalyanamitta is at least half of the holy life. And the Buddha says, do not say so, Ānanda. It is the whole of the holy life. So, and part of the way I make sense out of that is we are social beings, social creatures. Humans do not, they might survive for a period of time, but they do not flourish without good friends and the help and the knowledge, the assistance, one might even say the attention and the connection that we have. So the Buddha did not set up his monastic orders as true hermits in the way that we might image it. We've talked about this before. I mean, there are rules that make it very clear that one is not to cut oneself off from the Sangha itself or um, from the communities where the monks and nuns live and draw their support from. So, so I encourage the chat. Even when I'm talking, uh, you might miss something I'm saying, but this, just considering the time we're in, and if your life is anything like mine, I haven't been out for months. I've been here, and I've had a greatly diminished ability to sort of connect with people in real life, friends and supporters, and people that want to draw near the Sangha. And I know that most everyone else is in a similar position. And so the ability to kind of nurture this sense of being in this together and seeing each other's faces, that's why I encourage bright and cheery icons. So even if it's a flower or picture of something that is dear to one, it's something to share with each other. And this ability to kind of connect with each other in the morning, it's very nice. It certainly adds a little bit to my day. It adds a little work to my day, but it adds a tremendous opportunity for giving, and it changes my mood and my consciousness. It's always interesting watching how one goes through various phases. You wake up and you're in one sort of place with your mind. You go through whatever your morning routine is, whether it's a little bit of yoga and stretching or exercise and movement and cleaning oneself or cleaning one's room, then doing some sitting. I always notice like what a profound shift there is in my mind after having sat for a while. And then yet another shift after we do the chanting. So in the morning, most of our monasteries do the chanting before they sit, which I quite like as well. But for various reasons, we're doing that at the end of our sit here. But usually when we finish our chanting in the morning, I feel like I want to go back into sitting for another 45 minutes or so. But I just take a minute because there are things to do, including getting all this set up. So, and then alms round for me, which, I've been able to have the blessing to live as an alms mendicant for these last 10 years here in White Salmon, which seemed most improbable to many people. That creates another sense of consciousness as well. Like just walking out of the monastery, full in robes. And since we live along Jewett Creek in a forested little stretch of monastery, usually get a good 20 or 30 minutes of just walking along this beautiful little creek drainage and a really nice, temperate evergreen forest full of Doug fir trees and maples and dogwood trees. Uh, Lots of bird song, little critters. Uh, and just walking mindfully through that each morning, it's interesting how that, if one is receptive and attentive to it, how that changes one's sense of being, energy levels, sense of connection. And then we pop up into town and start walking about and connecting with people. So there's lots of people sort of waving good morning. There's the various people that are out looking for us to make a food offering for our meal, and the various people that have given us an invitation to stop by their house to offer food for our daily meal, and those those interchanges, those connections, sharing that space yet again changes the mind. I think as we get a taste for it, as we get a footing and are able to relax the contraction of self, relax the habit of selfing and always being obsessed with me and conceptions of me and framing our conscious experience as me and mine, um, moving through those various phases of the day uh, feels very interesting. If there's any sense of it being selfless, there's a capability and ability just to be watchful of it, feeling it, experiencing it, connected with it. Um, that's quite interesting. It's like moving through a novel and going from chapter to chapter. And a lot of skilled novelists don't have this very boring and predictable uh, linear narrative that just goes from day to day to day to day, right? Sometimes there's flashbacks, or sometimes the narrative is coming from one character, and then the next chapter, it's yet another character or a different scene, sometimes moving into the past, sometimes moving into the future, sometimes moving someplace we don't really know. Hard to apprehend uh, until the whole thing comes together. So life can be a little bit like that. And if one has sufficient wisdom and strength of heart, it can be like a beautiful novel, a very interesting story. Not without challenge, not without a certain amount of pain, but possibly absent the kind of pain and heaviness that is optional. There's a lot of pain that is inevitable in human life. And then there is a whole ocean of pain that is optional, meaning suffering. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So, so offer that as something of a little reflection this morning, beginning our day. I see all kinds of at mentions here, so give me a moment to scroll through the chat and catch up with you all. Okay, some of them are just an appreciation of the view. That's our guest cootie that you saw in the view. Good morning, Eleanor. What would you tell somebody who is quite depressed and or suicidal? Well, first I'd want to share some time with the person to get a sense of just exactly where they're at and what it is that they can receive. So, um, and I think, and then find some sort of appropriate way to connect with the person. I think a lot of those feelings that people have are not wholly caused by this, but oftentimes I think there's a significant component where people feel a lack of connection and relation. They feel like they don't belong. They're not important. I mean, of course, there can be other reasons why people are feeling depressed, even organic reasons, but uh, I think meaningful relationships and having a sense of uh, belonging in the world oftentimes plays a role there. And so rather than tell them something, I think I would see if I could connect with them and offer them some relationship. If they're receptive to it, I think I would try to encourage them to lighten up, not think about themselves so much, get moving, get active in some way, connecting with other people, helping other people, making contributions. Um, as Ajahn Sudanto most famously said, when I think about myself, I suffer. And an obsession with the self can take us to those places. So oftentimes there can be some real hurt or anger underneath what's going on there. So exploring that and seeing if there's some way you can help them past that. People are angry at themselves or at the world or at their family. They feel that the world is in a state that it shouldn't be, or that they are somehow failed or flawed. So those are a few thoughts, Eleanor. It's a little difficult to speak to exact, and I'm not a trained psychologist, so this is just a monk spontaneously reflecting on that. But a few ideas. Good morning, Zuri. What can monks eat or drink after noon? So yeah, the monastics have rules that they're not to eat at the wrong time of the day, which is in the vikala, or after the sun reaches its zenith, midday. So food is to be taken between dawn and midday. And after that, they're not really supposed to eat anything, but they are allowed fruit juice if it's well strained throughout the day. They can't keep it overnight, like for another day. Although in modern times, because of pasteurization and refrigeration, there's not much of a chance of it spoiling. Uh, so they can drink fruit juice. They can drink things that are not foods, like water. Mm. They can drink things that are considered medicinal, um, not food, have some sort of tonic value to them. So like herbal teas and black teas and green teas and coffees and sodas. They're able to consume what are known as the five tonics, which are essentially fats, sugars, and oils, and kind of cheese, or a cheese-like substance that they made in the time of the Buddha called nawanitang. And it's described. So I was saying cheese. that was strange. Yeah, the device that powers my microphone just all of a sudden shut off. And there's not even an on and off switch. So, okay. So people can hear me again. Yeah, so I was just describing the 5 tonics, and those are things that can be consumed after noon, and they're traditionally used as tonics are to mix with medicines, and monks can use them if they're what's called gilane, so they're somehow lacking energy or in need of um, some energy, or they need some sort of medicinal for various conditions, like they might be constipated or sick with something. So, and then of course they can take medicines. So, uh, let me see if I can catch up. So, are you saying cheese is allowed afternoon? Yes, cheese is allowed. There was a substance called nawanitang in the time of the Buddha, and it's not exactly like hard cheese is made, but they describe how it's made, and it's essentially made of the same stuff, just made differently. It's a bit sounds like it's a bit more like paneer or fresh cheese. So let's see. Would you say more about why in the morning you're doing chanting at the end of the morning meditation? Sure. Um, doing doing things at the end of the morning because we have a fairly short. I mean, for monastics, it's a fairly short meditation period, uh, and it's starting pretty late in the morning. We don't start until 5:30 in the morning, so that's kind of pretty late. Many monasteries start at 3 or 3:30, 4 or 4:30, 5. Um, so we start quite late, and so um, what I wanted to do here at the Hermitage is if monks want to come in and sit a bit longer because we don't have such a long sit in the morning, they can do that uninterrupted. So they can come to the shrine room and practice and sit for an hour or hour and a half if they want, um, and then we share 20 minutes of chanting at the end before we break up and start doing our chores and preparing to go for our alms round. So I established that pattern quite a long time ago, and I think it works well for us here at the Hermitage. So right now, thinking of all you and the different people that want the encouragement to sit in the morning and the evening time with monastics, or to practice chanting, which people don't get much of a opportunity to do. I think it also works to do it later in the morning because although 5:30 is late for a monk, it's I've heard early for some. So many people like to do their sitting a little later, so they can join us at 6:20 for 20 minutes of chanting and then do their sitting after that. So it gives you a chance to sleep in another hour or to do something else if you just like to sit a little bit later. So that's my reasoning behind it. So back to food. Are there days where you feel hungry due to not having enough food? Not too many. Not too many. People make great effort to try to make sure we're cared for and fed and that we have adequate food. So it's inevitable that it does happen sometimes because we're not devoted to, the rule isn't all about food security so much. So sometimes, yeah, but most people, when they take up uh, living as a monk or a nun, and even if they take up the eating of a one meal a day, kind of adjust to it after a period of time. Maybe within a year or two, it becomes just very natural. Uh, some people with different metabolism or something might struggle with one meal a day, but most everyone can get what they need and not feel hunger. Um, having that kind of window of time in the morning. These days they're calling it intermittent fasting. So you restrict your food intake to some period of the day. And in India, that would be like roughly 6 hours in the morning time from dawn till midday. So, and then you fast for 18 hours. And um, it's quite a nice way to live. I think it has some health benefits, um, but also it minimizes the amount of time you have to spend cooking and cleaning and eating and thinking about food. And you have a huge chunk of the day where your body's not digesting food, which can be very nice. Makes you feel a bit light, um, which can be helpful for meditation. More questions about food. This morning it's all about food and tonics. Do you have a small breakfast in the USA, Tana-chan? I don't. But many of the monasteries in the West have very light break fast. So at a Baigiri at 7 a.m., they usually have a little bit of cereal or a little bit of oatmeal. So here at the Hermitage, because we don't have people staying here, that's not really possible. So if one's really gilane or needs a little bit of energy in the morning, though, they can have something. So I have butter coffee in the morning. So, which might sound disgusting to people that aren't used to drinking it, but it's nice. It gives you a little, especially in the wintertime, kind of creates some warmth and gives you a little bit of energy. Because I oftentimes get up pretty early, and our mealtime might not be till 10 o'clock or even 11 o'clock many days. So I could be up 3 o'clock till, what is that, 7 hours before I get to eat. Sometimes 8 hours before I get to eat. So good to see you, by the way, Misa. So great, you made it today. You made it on a very special day, too. Today's our 10th anniversary. So Misa's an old friend from Thailand and many places. So okay, well we're a little past the hour here, so I might wrap things up for today. I hope I'm not premature in announcing this, but we have a Ajahn Sona's talk coming up, the third in the Jhana series on Sunday at 1 p.m. It premieres on YouTube. And put that on your calendar. And Ajahn Sona has agreed to come on Monday morning. So we're going to run a test today to make sure that we can do this with Birkin's internet connection. But we hope to have Ajahn Sona on as a guest Monday. So for those who can watch the premiere on Sunday, take notes. And if the technology all works out, you'll be able to share something with Ajahn or ask him a question. So, and we should probably like keep it focused to the topic. Maybe let's not ask him about what they can eat in the afternoon up at Birkin. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it at that for today, friends. Wish everybody well. Have a good day. I hope the sun's shining wherever you are. And if it isn't, make it shine. So, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning on the morning coffee time.